use this to illustrate that sometimes when we think we know why someone is upset, we don't, because everyone there assumed that I was just so happy. Hello, and welcome to the Complex Couples Podcast. I'm Heidi. I'm a couples therapist and relationship coach specializing in mixed orientation marriages and mixed gender identity relationships. Whether you're just discovering this reality or you've been on this journey for a long time, this is the space where your marriage matters, your values matter, and your choices matter. Let's dive in. Hi friends, I was thinking of something today that often gets in the way of good communication between partners, and that is that of assuming someone's feelings. If you're like me, you've probably gotten in trouble for that a few times, as far as a spouse saying, I hate it when you assume you know what I'm thinking or feeling, and they really might not like it. And it made me think of an example of when it would have been easy to assume my feelings, and I think many people did, and they weren't accurate. So let me tell you a little story. My husband and I, a couple of years ago, decided to hike Machu Picchu. And when I say we decided, I really mean that he really wanted to. And because I'm married to him and I wanted to go on the trip with him, I ended up going too. I'm not really the adventurous type, but I'm really grateful for a husband who pushes me to do things that are out of my comfort zone. But this one was really out of my comfort zone. Like, I was really worried about if I would have the stamina. I'm not in great shape. And I was nervous about elevation sickness, things like that. I really was a bit nervous for this trip. And so the day of the hike, we rode a train in and basically did the last day and a half of the Inca Trail. We did not do all, I think it's like 3 or 4 days. We hiked for, I think it was somewhere between 9 and 11 miles. I don't know for sure which, but it was a long hike. And for me, quite, I want to say grueling, but I mean, it wasn't the worst thing ever, but I would definitely was pushing myself and I was very tired. And what we did was we hiked up through the Sun Gate, which is an amazing experience. It was incredible. But when we hiked up there, they have like this last set of like a really steep part called the monkey stairs, because you kind of have to use your hands and feet while you climb up. And so as we were climbing that, my husband went ahead of me and he videoed me as I was coming over this rise so that I could see Machu Picchu. And when I got over the rise and I came through the Sun Gate, I started sobbing. And it would be easy to assume that I was sobbing out of happiness, that I had made it, that this was like the best moment of my life. But the reality was I was crying because when I got up to the top of the Sun Gate, there was still a long ways to go down to Machu Picchu. Now, it's true, it was very beautiful and it was very overwhelming sight, and I really appreciated the beauty. But if someone were to ask me why I was crying and I would have been honest about it, it would have been, oh my goodness, we still have to walk a long ways, even though it's downhill, and I am so tired and I'm not sure I can do this. And I use this to illustrate that sometimes when we think we know why someone is upset, we don't, because everyone there assumed that I was just so happy and so overwhelmed with the beauty. And I really wish that I could say that that was my primary experience, but I really was exhausted and worried about making it the rest of the way. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this relevant? What is important about this? And what I would say, it's important to ask about emotions that we see on other people. I'm not saying they're always going to be honest, but what I am saying is if we don't, we can make the wrong assumptions and we might not know why they're angry, why they're upset. And our instinct when we see emotion, depending on the emotion, some emotions are easy to ask about. If someone's really happy, it's pretty easy to say, oh, tell me about why you're so happy today. But if someone is lashing out at us and angry, it's actually really difficult to take a second and say, hey, I see that you're really angry right now, but I'm having a hard time understanding it. And it would be helpful for me if instead of lashing out, you really try to figure that out and communicate clearly to me what it is that I've done to contribute to your anger, that you view, or what it is that you're really upset about. But assuming people's feelings rarely gets us to an understanding of why they are feeling the way they feel. So never be afraid to ask about someone's expression or someone's reaction. Just allow yourself to ask the question and to be curious about it instead of assuming. and see what it does for your relationship. And that's my advice for today. I hope you have a great week, and I hope that you found something useful in this. Whether you did or you didn't, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you what is working for you and what isn't.